This phone is very similar to Xiaomi's bezel-less Mi Mix, both in terms of look and specs, but in an incredibly cheap price. So let's look at it. Just like Xiaomi, this is also from a Chinese brand called UKooo, and the name of the phone is UMix. Inside the box, there's pretty standard things: charger, headphone, and USB cable, and some bunch of papers, cover, etc. These borderless phones came very recently in the international markets. Xiaomi, Samsung have some, and it is believed that in recent future this borderless phones will be a general standard for all these smartphones. However, Japan had this borderless phone since many years, at least I think 4 or 5 years. This Sharp has this Aquos series phones, Sharp, Aquos Crystal, Aquos Sierra. These borderless phones, they have this many years. However, you cannot get those phones outside Japan. It is very much smaller than the Xiaomi's Mi Mix. It is only 5.5-inch screen, whereas Mi Mix is 6.4-inch screen, so it's much convenient to use. Keep it in pocket, outdoor use. However, I would more prefer if it would be much smaller, for example 5-inch screen. So if you want to compare the size, I have drawn this box here, this rectangle, which is the size of the Xiaomi's Mi Mix, and if you compare with the size, you can see it's much smaller. So Xiaomi's Mi Mix is 82mm by 159mm, and whereas this one is 72mm by 137mm. So it's much more compact and convenient to use. Now in terms of specs, it has MediaTek Helio X25 CPU, which has 10 cores, 4 GB of RAM, and 64 GB of internal storage. The 5.5-inch screen is 1080p. So in terms of specs, it's extremely strong configuration, and all of this is only about $100. Unbelievable. And there is also a 6 GB version, 6 GB of RAM, which is just like $20 extra. But as I don't play games, so I thought 4 GB of RAM is more than good enough for me. The battery is 3800 milliamp hour, and in my use, some browsing, YouTube, calls, messengers, etc., no gaming, it lasts at least 2 days without any problem. So specs wise, it's a very good in this price range. This is the card slot. You can use 2 SIM cards at a time, dual SIM, or 1 SIM card and 1 SD card. So let's switch it on and let's have a look how it looks like inside. By the way, you can see it's not a true bezel-less phone. There is a thin bezel around, whereas Xiaomi's Mi Mix had 0 bezel. It basically removed this top part, which generally contains speaker and proximity sensors, etc. Now Xiaomi, they used a different innovative technique to use ultrasound by the speakers and remove the hardware proximity sensor, but it uses this old proximity sensors as small speaker, just like the normal phone. So it's not true bezel-less, but it's much more looks similar to a bezel-less phone. Now this is the screen. and it changes this lock screen changes the wallpaper every time. Okay, so let's unlock it. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so it also has this fingerprint sensor, so you can unlock it by fingerprint. So okay, so it now also this fingerprint sensor can be used for other purposes like take photo, video, screen capture, etc, etc. You can use the fingerprint sensor for all these things. So as you can see, it has this 10 cores and it shows the load in this 10 cores. The 4 GB of DDR RAM and 64 GB of storage, Android version 6.0. Storage, so 64 GB of storage, total capacity is much as free. It also comes with some file cleaner. This pure management contains the power saving features. I mean, when your screen is off, which apps you would like to keep running and which you don't want to keep running in the background. And this is the Chinese phone, so inside the language you get only these 3 languages: English, simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese. That's all. Dual card and dual mobile network options, data uses. So these are the pretty standard things. Intelligent power saving feature, and these are the power uses. System updates, smart accessibility, 3-pointer take screenshots. So if you do this with 3 fingers, it takes the screenshot. That's all, I think. Okay, now so far so good. Now there are some drawbacks also with this phone, and that's why I have kept the screen protector still on, because I'm going to send it back, I think. And both drawbacks are in terms of software, not in hardware. Hardware is extremely good, smooth, no problem. Both in terms of software, and that's pretty standard problems for any Chinese phone you buy in China. And the first problem is I could not make it root. I uses all the standard rooting softwares, King Root, Towel Root, iRoot, etc., but none of them could root it. So that's one problem, and for that you cannot delete this. You cannot delete this these Chinese apps. For example, it has a lot of Chinese apps like Tencent Reading, News, I don't know what it does mean. So you cannot delete them, so you can only disable them, but that's okay. I can get around it by disabling all these Chinese apps. So that's because it has a lot of memory, so it will not get any problem. I can just disable them. But what annoyed me more is this home screen. This is, I told you that this is comes with this overlay of which is called DDoS. Is some overlay on the Android 6.0. Basically it is integrated with some kind of DDoS launcher. Now this DDoS launcher is very annoying. It comes with this extra screen which contains a lot of Chinese quick Chinese bookmarks of the websites, and also if it comes if you switch on the Wi-Fi, then there is also some news. See, the automatic, this some kind of news come automatically here. So this card screen, this screen you cannot change of this launcher. This is an extra screen which is added directly to the launcher, and I tried to install other launchers, Nova launcher, but change the default launcher from the apps by changing the default settings to this Nova launcher, but somehow this home button is hardwarely connected or inside OS to this launcher. You cannot change the launcher, so that's very annoying. You cannot, but still this part of launcher was okay, but this extra screen is very annoying. It's not possible. So these two reasons, one is you cannot turn to root, and another is this launcher. I think I am going to, I'll look at it for a few days if I can get around it. Otherwise I think I am going to return this. But otherwise this is a pretty good phone, only in around $100, and good specs, good size, good design, everything is extremely good about this phone. But only this software side, it comes with this Chinese integration, and I don't like it. So that's it. Thanks for watching.